Welcome to Cover, where we're diving inside the pages of The Advocate magazine.
Hi, I'm Chasten Buttigieg. I'm an author and an advocate, and we're here shooting the cover of The Advocate. I recently rewrote my memoir, I Have Something to Tell You for Young Adults. I completely rewrote the book with stories from my childhood, growing up in conservative rural northern Michigan. As a teacher, it's really nice to be able to turn around and give back in the form of this book, because I know there are a lot of young people around the country questioning if they belong, and I'm here to tell you that you do. The fact is, my story isn't rare. It's actually pretty common. I was never very interested in politics when I was in school, and I definitely never thought I'd find myself involved in conversations about the future of our country. But my experiences on the campaign trail have shown me that being involved in politics is about a lot more than the laws, rights, and governing bodies that make up the United States. The issues surrounding politics are in all our living rooms. They're around our kitchen tables and in our mailboxes. Whether I was hearing the stories of young LGBTQ+ people who'd been kicked out of their homes and didn't know what to do next, or talking to teachers who felt they weren't getting the support they needed, I was constantly reminded that Americans should be able to see themselves in the people representing them at the highest levels of government. It is certainly a really scary time for our community right now, and so I would just encourage anybody to find an organization that speaks to them. It's not only a time for people in our community to speak up. We've been doing the work, we've been speaking up. It's time for allies to do the work as well. But it's really important to show us that you're an ally 12 months out of the year, not just during June. One of the things I'm most excited about is going out on tour and spreading this message of the book that I wrote, and really excited to see people out on the road.
Joining me now is Editor-in-Chief Desiree Guerrero. Hi Desiree, another exciting issue of The Advocate.
Yes, hi Stephen. Yes, we're very excited about this issue. It's our annual Champions of Pride issue. So we really like to highlight just everyone from activists to celebrities to entertainers to, authors that are just making the world a better place for the LGBT community. So this year we kind of went in a different direction because we were kind of reflecting on what does it mean to be in the LGBT community, and there's a growing acronyms a lot of the time. We're adding a lot of letters. So we really wanted to represent especially those people in the community that don't get as much visibility, like intersex people, like asexual people, transgender people, two-spirit people, people that identify as things maybe other than the L and the G. So we really wanted to highlight just kind of the beautiful diversity of the community. And then we were very fortunate to get an interview with Chasten Buttigieg, husband of Pete Buttigieg. So they just became fathers recently. Pete famously was the first gay presidential nominee. And then also Chasten's book, his memoir, is being adapted into a young adult book about kind of like coming out to your family and stuff. So he's been a very vocal advocate for kind of all the attacks going on towards transgender youth and queer youth in the country. As far as legislation, he's been a very vocal, advocate for LGBTQ youth. And then we highlighted a lot of other people, like a very prominent trans activist. He's a competitive swimmer. His name's Skylar Baylor. And he's just been really just a very prominent voice fighting for trans youth, especially in sports, because he's a competitive swimmer. So he's been through it all himself. And then, we had Pigeon Pagonis, who's an intersex advocate. And they are really about trying to stop non-consensual surgeries on intersex people, which has been going on for a long time, and it's something we don't really talk about very much, in the LGBT community. So I think that was something very important to highlight. And they're just as common statistically as redheads, so they're not as rare as you think. So we need to represent for, everyone, and that kind of falls under this umbrella of
And in those situations, is it in the hospital when the baby's born? That's when they decide.
A lot of times, like, it goes on, even in Pigeon's case, it went on throughout their life, and they were just told they were sick with something else, and the parents kept their true identity from them. They didn't even find out until they were an adult. So it's a very common story for intersex people. So they don't even discover they're intersex till they're adults sometimes. So it's just something that isn't very talked about, but it's something that still goes on to this day in this country and in other countries. So that's something we definitely wanted to highlight. And we had Fern Brady. She's a bisexual comic from the UK, but she's also on the autism spectrum. So she talks a lot about mental health and how women don't get diagnosed as much to be on the autism spectrum. So she was very interesting and fun interview, and she's hilarious. So look at some of her videos on YouTube. She's so great.
And we're definitely hitting all the points there. But Desiree, I'm going to stop you there because we're running out of time. But if you want to see the full list and more about these wonderful champions of pride, they're all in our latest edition of the magazine.
Yes.
Thank you, Desiree.
Thank you.
Now to our sit down with Christopher Wiggins and Chasten Buttigieg and more.
Most people may not think they know a trans person.
Exactly.
And so your life, you've shown through representation what it's like to be a gay couple in the public light.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though people would probably recognize that trans people are just like anyone else if they took a moment to meet them? What do you feel about that?
Well, that's our job as allies too, not just straight allies. It's our job as allies in our own community to help other people recognize that. And when you hear a comment or a question that's actually a comment, what do you think about this whole blah, 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 blah? That is your opportunity to speak up and to educate somebody. Because I have also found in having those conversations with people, they just don't know. They've never met a trans person. They've never really had the opportunity to learn about trans people or what trans people experience or what gender affirming care is. That is your opportunity, not just your opportunity, your obligation, if you can, safely, to have that conversation with somebody because other people's lives depend on it. You're right. The other side of the aisle seems really focused in on the trans community right now because of the fact that many other people have never met a trans person or have never thought about trans people existing in this country until some people started making them think about not supporting them. And rather than demonizing people, we should want everyone to just pause and reflect and learn and give them the opportunity to unlearn some of those things that maybe they picked up on talk radio or some other news channel. Because aren't we all better for it? And I especially know that the reality of that presidential campaign and the reality of my existence today, having this platform and the privilege that comes with it, would not have been possible had it not been for trans people. And if any person in our community thinks the appropriate thing is to turn their back on the trans people, then you are not an ally. You are harming people in your own community. And we should find any way possible, with our time or our money or our privilege, to support people who really need it right now.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You got it.
That last part is really, it's wild to me that people are really attacking someone just because of who they are.
Be sure to read the full article inside The Advocate. You can stream The Advocate channel now. Download our Roku Fire TV, Apple TV or Google Play Store app for instant access. For Cover to Cover, I'm Stephen Walker.